evolution, any change in the heritable traits within a population across generations. It basically means a process or collection of adaptation and changes in organisms and diversity of life. Like a hunchback hairy naked monkey turns into a slightly not hunchback and hairy dude who wears clothes now for millions of years. But before we dive into the topic, let's recap about reproduction. Or like a man and a woman get together and they do stuff where their sex cells get together as well, they have a baby. And once that baby grows, half of the DNA comes from his father and half from his mother, making him look like his parents but have a slightly unique characteristics because of DNA mutation and variation. Now that's out of the way, we'll be talking about evolutionary theories and processes. We start with the weird sideburn scientist Jean-Baptiste de Lamarck. He proposed that organisms evolved due to the environment making them to become more suited, like elephants having longer trunks to reach for their food. Although his theory is slightly wrong, but he's still credited for epigenetics. Next on the list is this weird bald-looking scientist with a long hairy beard, Charles Darwin. During the early 1800s, they came up with a natural theology suggesting that there was a divine creator, fixity of species, short creation, and perfect design, which made Darwin question. So he traveled the world in the HMS Beagle, going to South America, Australia, and Africa, discovering and observing fossils and comparing them to our modern species. And then he came up with his own natural selection, wherein there was no divine creator, no species are fixed, evolution happens in a long period of time, and animals acquire useful traits, making them not have a perfect design. And lastly, we have Alfred Russel Wallace. He asked Darwin if he wants to join in an evidence-based theory explaining natural selection. Now, Wallace ventured in Southeast Asia to look for evidences. He also came up with a natural selection of his own that the fittest species survive and the unfit die. Now we're done with history, let's talk about some terminologies, starting with natural selection. It is a process by which certain inherited traits make it easier for some individuals to thrive and multiply, changing the genetic makeup of populations over time. The factors affecting natural selection is adaptation, when organisms become ideally shaped to enhance survival to a specific environment. Fitness is the relative ability to survive and create fertile offspring. When species adapt, they become more fit for the environment. The principles of natural selection are variation of phenotypes. It is where different members of a population have all kinds of individual variations, like hair color and blood type. There are also heritable traits and struggle for existence, when populations exceed the number of resources. And lastly, variable traits are always successful. The biological evolution consists of common descent, where all species descended from one common ancestor. There's descent with modification, where all new species show variation, and change in frequency of traits, wherein the higher survival rate, the more common that trait becomes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope y'all learned something. Bye!